Welcome to Beyond the Nudge, the podcast for women over 50 who are ready to grow joyfully, take action with ease, and fully step into their age of empowerment. I'm your host, Kia Eileen, and this is your invitation to go beyond the whispers of intuition, dive deeply into your potential, and create the life and impact you've always dreamed of. Expect monthly themes, transformative insights, powerful frameworks, and practical tools to help you reconnect with your purpose, overcome challenges, and align with your most radiant self. So, here's what's in store: practical wisdom, actionable tools and frameworks from spirituality, psychology, and metaphysics to help you grow, inspiring stories from me and from others who've transformed their lives and embraced their full selves, and empowered action to help you move from dreaming to doing with clarity and confidence. This is more than just a podcast. It's a space for transformation, empowerment, and connection. If you're ready to move beyond the nudge of intuition and into your fullest expression, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Your best you is waiting beyond the nudge. So, hello, and welcome to this latest episode. We're on episode 12, and in our monthly theme of the power of possibility, I really wanted to share some insights regarding small steps to big dreams, small steps toward big dreams. And when you hear the word big dreams, what comes up for you? Does it feel comfortable? Or does it feel a little bit, oof, a little bit, I don't know, icky or a little bit scary? It's quite natural to feel a little bit unsure when we start to talk about big dreams. And I'm sure you've heard of, if you have a big dream, if you have a big goal, then, break it down into small bite-sized chunks, and then it doesn't feel so insurmountable. It doesn't feel so all-encompassing. And I think that that's a great strategy. But I want us to think about big dreams in two ways. And I'm going to offer you two ways that we can look at big dreams. So sometimes we get stuck and we are unable to move forward because that dream feels huge. It feels too big. How will I accomplish this? I'm only just one person. What will I do first? Do I have the resources? All of those questions start to come up. So sometimes we can get stuck because the dream feels too big. But here's the thing: sometimes we get stuck because the dream that we have isn't big enough. It isn't big enough. And that can equally stop us in our tracks. So, we're going to talk about what happens when the dream feels too big, and also what happens when what we are envisioning isn't the vision for our soul wants to accomplish. So, we're aiming too low. But let's start with when the dream feels too big. So, when the dream feels too big, as we've discussed on previous podcasts, we can sometimes trigger a response, trigger a threat response in the nervous system. And the nervous system says, hey, hold on, wait a minute. This doesn't feel safe. And we can sink into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so if we're in fight, maybe this appears as pushing harder and harder and harder and trying to do more, and that kind of hustle, overwork mentality, which can lead to exhaustion, make us feel like, there's a never ending sort of list of activities that we need to do. We need to do more. We need to do more. We need to do more. And, or we can slip into flight, which looks like avoiding or procrastinating or sometimes sabotaging projects or ideas or the things that we wish to create. Or there's freeze, where we just get stuck and we go blank and we feel paralyzed, unable to move forward. Or maybe there's fawn, where we give up our dreams and we start to sink into people pleasing because we want to make someone else feel comfortable. We want to make sure that we are safe by making someone else feel comfortable. So we put our dreams on the back burner. And when we sink into any of those responses, when we trigger the nervous system, a number of things can start to happen. Maybe we're overthinking, over preparing, needing to know more, needing to do more, needing to learn more, or perfectionism, where we are waiting for it to be perfect before we take that first step. So, too much planning, doing, redoing, trying to make it absolutely perfect so that it doesn't look like we've made a mistake. It looks like we know what we're doing, but we actually never take the step forward. Maybe you're shrinking. Maybe you're making yourself small. Maybe you are, not pushing yourself forward in order to feel safe. And that's a sign that the nervous system is imbalanced. There's a dysregulation going on there. Or maybe you're getting these nudges and you're ignoring them. Maybe you're getting these pushes, these signs, and you're saying, no, it's not for me. It's not my time. And you're just ignoring that. And you can feel frustrated because you want to move forward and you maybe feel like, oh, I'm not really sure. So I'm just going to ignore it and not do anything. Or maybe you're repeating some old stories. I tried that before and it hasn't worked. There's not enough space in the market. People aren't buying that. I'm not good at that. I'm not good enough at that. I'm not a good enough speaker. I'm not a good enough writer. I'm not a good enough creative or artist, whatever it might be. Maybe there's an old story, an old paradigm that you're operating from that needs to be released. Or are you comparing yourself to someone else and their accomplishments? She's doing it much better. They know more. I don't know enough. It's too late. It's too late. They got started early and it's too late for me. What are the things that are running in your head that are preventing you from moving forward? And can you release that by actually going back into the body and making the nervous system feel safe? Maybe if your dream feels too big, you are sinking into either hypervigilance, where you are overproductive, needing to move, do more, overworking, needing to, not taking any rest, not taking any breaks, doing more, staying up late, needing to just do. There's more things on the to-do list. So you're hyper productive and hyper vigilant about this dream, this goal. You're not giving yourself space to allow this dream to breathe. And on some level, that is saying that rest is actually not safe. Resting does not equal safety. And so you keep moving. And so you keep moving, feeling, thinking, and believing that productivity equals success. And it's sometimes counterproductive because that can lead to collapse, where you're tired, you're overworked, there's low energy, no motivation, a lot of fatigue. And illness can result from this kind of pushing and pushing and pushing, especially as women, as humans, we are, nature is cyclical and we are cyclical. And so we have to honor those spaces to recede as well as those spaces to push forward. And so can we give ourselves space to rest and to breathe as well? Because we're not geared for this constant motion and pushing forward. Sometimes the beauty is in the pulling back and the releasing and allowing and allowing. And so there's a question for you. Do you allow space for the allowing? Can you create space for the allowing? Because sometimes the universe, source, wants to give you as much as you are giving and giving and giving. So can you give yourself permission to receive as well? And then sometimes something happens when we start to think about the things that we'd really like to create, the goals and the dreams that we really hold for ourselves. It can trigger a response in the body where maybe we've tried something in the past and it hasn't worked, seemingly hasn't worked. I believe that everything has a reason, but it hasn't worked. And we feel traumatized by that. And maybe we feel judged. Maybe we feel criticized. Maybe there's shame or guilt around wanting to hold our dreams. Maybe someone told us that we want too much, we are too much, and we've taken that into the body as trauma. And so as we begin to push and as we begin to ask and as we begin to say that we want more impact and creativity and joy, whatever that might be, there's something that happens in the body that says, this isn't safe. It isn't safe to want more, to be more, to have more, to do more. And if any of this is resonating with you as you begin to think, oh gosh, I'd really love to create this, but if any of this makes sense to you, I want to tell you, first of all, it's completely normal to have these fears and to have things come up, but you have control. You have control of how you move forward. And it can be done with grace and ease. And I want to give you a little tool that, I like to use. For me, I offer this to my clients as well. It's a little remedy to help sort of overcome this too big, too muchness of our dreams. And, a lot of what I talk about is, having the nervous system and being dysregulated or imbalanced or triggered. It's really important to allow our bodies, our breath to feel safe so that we can open this space for the connection to our intuition, to our gut instinct, to our soul. But if we are stuck in panic, then all of that gets shut off because we're looking to survive. And so the first thing to do is to just breathe. Step number one is to breathe. Breathe into that intuition, that nudge. Breathe into that dream. You don't have to do anything with it, just breathe. Breathe before you write the to-do list. Breathe before you start to take those first steps. Breathe before you have your first meeting to sort of set you on your path. Breathe and bring life and light into the body. And you can also do things like tapping, right? Tapping, I'm trying not to do this. I don't want to make more noise in the microphone, but maybe tapping at the heart space and telling yourself, I am safe. 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 Looking around the room and counting 3 things to make sure that you're anchored in the present. Because if you're worried, you might be projecting too far into the future. How will I? How will I? How will I? In this present moment, you don't need the how. You just need your breath and your creativity and your inspiration. And so we want to make sure that the breath is allowing space for that to bring you back into the body. So tapping, looking around your space, counting 3 things and saying, I'm here, I'm safe, I am present, can create space for you to begin this journey. And maybe, tapping and then humming, right? I think I've shared with you before. It's really hard to hold a negative thought and hum at the same time. So tapping, breathing, humming can all help to bring you back into your body, back into the present, and out of the sort of staying in the past and staying in the future, bringing you back into the present, which is where you create from. This is where you manifest from, the absolute present moment. Step number 2 is to take soul-aligned incremental steps, soul-aligned incremental steps. And I like doing the body compass. So the body compass first is really about pausing. And as I said, taking that breath. So thinking about your dream, feeling into this dream, this goal, this big vision that you have, taking a pause, a sacred pause for a moment, asking the question, is this the right path for me? Is this the dream for me? And just pausing. Sometimes we ask the question and then we're already moving forward before we have felt into the answer. So take a pause. Is this the right path for me? Is this the right relationship for me? Is this the right goal for me? What else can I create? What else does my soul wish to create? What wishes to be created through me? So take a pause, sit with it, breathe into it. And the second part of the body compass is feel into your yes, feel into your intuitive yes. I love to share the exercise of, what is the body's yes and what is the body's no. So think of a time when you absolutely knew that the answer to a question that you were asking yourself was yes. What does it feel like in the body when you just know the answer is right? The answer is yes. What does it feel like in the body? Where is it sitting in your body, that yes? For me, it's my belly, right? It's my belly, and it feels like butterflies and electricity. And I just know it's a zing, and I just know, right, that's my yes. And then think of a time in your life when you absolutely, unequivocally knew that the answer was no. Absolutely not. No, that's a no for me. So where does that appear in the body? What does it feel like? What's the energy of it? And does it have texture? Does it have color? And then you begin to differentiate between your yes and your no, your intuitive yes and your intuitive no. And then you can ask not just your brain, but your body that has information and knowledge about you because it houses your soul. And so your soul wishes something for you. So can you give yourself space to feel into, allow the answer to arise within you? So what's your intuitive yes? What's your intuitive no? So asking that question, is the right path for me? Is this the right goal for me? Is this the right relationship for me? Is this the right project for me? And then feel into the yes or the no, then actually listening to it, right? So sometimes we get the no and we go, we override that no and we push forward anyway. How many have done that before? I certainly have. Both hands up. I freely admit it. So can we listen to the answer? Can we take that answer in as our wisdom? And the third step of the body compass in the soul aligned incremental steps is you have taken the sacred pause. You have felt into your intuitive response, your intuitive yes. If the answer is yes, then you can ask from that same space, what is my next soulful mini movement? What is my soul mini or micro movement? What's the next best step? And sometimes the steps can feel really huge. So can we break it down into a micro step, a mini step? And let's say, for instance, your dream is to write a book, and then you have checked in, and the answer is yes. The soul wishes to write a book. Brilliant. So you might say, okay, I need to write 1,000 words per week. And that feels big. But can you break it down into a soulful micro movement? Can you write for 15 minutes a day? Don't count the words. What feels right if you break it down into its smallest component? And then do that. And then once you've done it, don't just skip directly into, okay, what's the next thing? And keep moving forward. I want you to stop and pause and celebrate. I wrote for 15 minutes today. And then recap at the end of the day. I'm so proud of myself. I wrote for 15 minutes today. I've taken a beautiful step toward that goal, and I'm so proud of myself. I honor this part of the journey. And that's the body compass. So soul aligned incremental steps. You can use the body compass. So sacred pause, intuitive yes or intuitive no. soulful micro or mini movements, and then celebrate. Those are your soul-aligned incremental steps. And then after you've taken those soul-aligned incremental steps, I want you to allow yourself to rest. Allow yourself to rest. We have to get ourselves out of the conditioning which says that our value is in our doing. I firmly believe that our value is not necessarily only in our doing. Our value is in our being. Our value is in who we allow ourselves to become outside of societal expectations, familial expectations, roles, demands put on our identity and our time. Can we give ourselves time to space? That's time to have space so that we can allow ourselves to become. That is where the value is. So can you give yourself time and space to rest and allow safety to become your norm, to allow safety to become sacred? When you give yourself space to breathe and to rest, you say to your subconscious, you say to your body, we are safe. We are safe to do this thing that wishes to be created through us, this thing that we wish to create for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, for the world. We are safe. And we give ourselves permission to be safe by resting and by sitting. And a lot of times, the creative flow is activated in the rest, in the stillness. So it's not necessarily in the doing, it's in the being. So who can you give yourself permission to become? And can you make your inner safety, your inner sanctum, non-negotiable? I'm not moving forward until I've created a space of safety within me and around me, but most importantly, within me. What makes me feel safe? Is it the breath? Is it movement, exercise? Is it swimming? Is it reading? Is it singing? Is it dancing? What makes you feel safe? What makes you feel joyful? What brings you pleasure? What makes you feel rested and rejuvenated? Give yourself permission to do a little bit more of that. It's okay to slow down and know that this big dream, this big goal, this big thing that is bubbling up inside of you, it's not a race. You don't have to, stay on this wheel, this kind of hamster wheel of doing, 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 and I've got to get to the end. It's not a race. I'm inviting you to the revolution, your revolution, and your reawakening. And this is what we are creating here. So I'm excited for you, right? I'm excited for this big dream that is coming to you. And so I promised at the beginning, I said, we're talking about dreams in two ways. So it's not just, is the dream too big? Something can also happen, some very interesting things happen when the dream isn't big enough. The dream isn't big enough. And sometimes we shrink ourselves, we shrink our goals, we shrink our aspirations, and we minimize the things that we wish to create because we think we're keeping ourselves safe. We think it's safer to, instead of saying, oh, I really would love to write that book. Uh, you know, I just, maybe I'll do a little bit of writing, but just for myself. I want to complete that project. And now I'll make it a little bit smaller. We start to minimize and chip away pieces of our goals, of our dreams, thinking, okay, I'll make it more manageable if I make it smaller. Here's the thing. That dream, that big dream, that big goal has a frequency. It has a frequency. It has a life of its own. And if you are operating in the wrong frequency by minimizing what it is you are trying to deliver, you will be out of alignment and you will be out of flow. It'll just feel harder. It won't feel nice. It won't feel fun. it will feel like you're pushing water uphill because you're out of frequency, you're out of alignment. And when your dreams are not fully aligned with your potential, it can show up in a number of really subtle ways. And sometimes when these things show up, we automatically go to the first the first sort of, aspect of what we were talking about. Maybe these dreams are too big, I'll make them smaller. Well, sometimes that's the exact opposite of what you should be doing. Maybe you should be thinking, oh, this feels a little bit hard. Maybe I need to go bigger. And it's counterintuitive, but here's some ways, here's some things that can show up when your dreams, the thing that you think you're creating, is not actually big enough. You're not allowing yourself to go bigger. So the first thing is maybe you feel a little bit restless. There's restlessness and there's a lack of clarity, and you don't know the direction and you don't know which way to go. And it can feel like, oh, I'm just not sure. I don't know if I'm doing this. I don't know if I'm doing that. And it's because you're focusing on sort of, the micro point when you need to expand your vision and go bigger. And sometimes when, especially as women, when we have the feeling that we want to go bigger, we want more, we want to create more, we want to be more, there is something within us that says, if I want more, maybe I'm being ungrateful. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I'm wanting to be too much. Maybe I'm wanting to be too big. I don't want to be too big for my britches, as we used to say. And it's not about being ungrateful, because you are not aligning yourself with this thing, this energy that sits inside of you. It just means that you're creating a space to feel unfulfilled. And so there's this restlessness and there's this lack of direction, because the thing that wants to be created through you, the dream, the big dream, will lead you to it when you are in alignment with it. And if you have a lack of direction, if you feel a little bit restless, it's because you're not on the right path. You're tuned into the wrong signal. You're using the wrong GPS. And so can you give yourself space to maybe go, oh, okay, am I brave enough to go bigger? And maybe it's showing up as a lack of motivation. I really can't sort of be bothered. This isn't exciting for me. And maybe you feel like your heart just isn't in it. There's a lack of fire. You're uninspired. It's because you're out of frequency, you're out of alignment. And a dream that doesn't stretch you also will not move you forward. I'll say that again. A dream that doesn't stretch you also will not move you forward. If it's too easy, if it's too achievable, then that part of you that wants to grow, that part of you that wants to expand, won't feel inspired. And so you stay stuck. Can you go bigger? Maybe you're easily distracted, scrolling, onto different things. Or maybe you sabotage yourself as you start something. Maybe you sort of sabotage the results, not following up, not following through, because your dream doesn't activate your full self. It hasn't activated you, so it doesn't feel exciting to you. And that thing that you think you're trying to accomplish, because you're out of alignment, you're resisting it unconsciously. And I think it's really important to realize that as well. I mean, let's be clear. Our souls know what's right for us. Our souls know what it wants to experience in this lifetime. And so, on some level, there can be a resistance when we are not in alignment with that and when we are not delivering that experience. And so we can resist it because it's not right. And so, can you give yourself permission to ask the question, am I resisting it here? Not because it's too big, but because it's not big enough. Where is this resistance coming from? It's important to start asking questions about the bigness of the dream because a lot of times we are bigger than we realize. We are more than we give ourselves permission to be. We are more than we allow ourselves to be. And so can we begin to create space for the moreness, the bigness of who we are? And sometimes what shows up is we look at someone, accomplishing something, and we start to get this feeling of jealousy, like, oh, I want to do that. I can do that. Something in me really would love to do that. I wish I could do that. And so there's jealousy or envy that starts to come up like, why does she get to do that thing? And I really want to do that thing. Sometimes it's a sign that there's something in that experience that's calling to you. Or maybe you're in comparison, like, you know, they're doing that thing and I wish I could do that thing and they do it better than me. Or I wish I could do that. I could do it better than them. Right? I could do that. Yeah, you could. And so can you give yourself permission to go bigger? To go bigger, even if it feels scary, because here's what that's actually saying to you, that is possible for me too. It's also possible for me. And so celebrate that. Why do I feel jealous about that? Why am I comparing myself to that and saying I could do that thing? It's because the small dream isn't inspiring to you. It's not igniting you. It's not lighting you up. And so when you look at that thing and you say that you want to have that experience, you want to create that thing, it's a sign for you that it is also possible for you. And this next one is a big one for me. This is how it shows up for me in particular. When I'm thinking about a dream and maybe I'm not going big enough, I call it the almighty pivot. The almighty pivot, starting over, pivoting, trying out different things. Oh, that hasn't really, that's not kind of it, so I'll try this. That doesn't feel quite right, so I'll try that. And lots of pivoting. And it can sometimes appear like you're a bit flaky or you're a bit indecisive. But what I think is being offered is that you're getting these nudges toward the bigger truth. Maybe you're gaining experiences. This is what it feels like to me. My pivots feel like experiences that are very important to gain that sort of knowledge and wisdom and learning, and it's going to fuel the big dream. And so sometimes pivots are not just flakiness and airy fairiness or airheadedness. Sometimes it's so you can gain experience and be nudged toward the bigger truth. So can you ask yourself, is there a bigger truth available to me here? If I wasn't afraid, if I wasn't fearful, if I knew that I could step out and do this thing and I wouldn't fail, what would it look like? What could it be? What could I create? And so, you know, then going for the big dream, right? Just go for it. Say, oh gosh, this is really big, but I'm going to start to take these steps. Because the more that you can align yourself with the big dream, the less you'll want to pivot because you'll begin to build momentum and foundation and joy in the building of the big thing. And so you won't need the pivot because you will be aligned in the frequency and the truth of the dream, the big, big dream. Or maybe you are, successful You achieved everything that you have set out to achieve, and it looks great on paper. And outwardly, people look at you and say, oh, she's done it. She has done it. But you know deep inside that there is a yearning for more, a yearning for more meaning, for more depth, for more impact, for more joy, for more expansiveness, for more pleasure, for more life. Is there a yearning in you? And can you listen to that yearning? Because your soul is asking. Your soul is asking. Or maybe it's whispering. Go ahead. Dream big. I've got you. I've got you. And so there's an exercise that I like to do and that I also offer to my clients when we're in the space of actually creating movement toward the big dream. I ask them what the dream is. And then I ask them, okay, so what is the vibration of that? So a big one is sometimes around, creative processes or money. So an example of this would be someone who says, I want more abundance in my life. I like to get specific. So I also like to see, first of all, what they feel is possible. What do they believe is possible in this moment? We can start to begin to see the limitations the constraints that we bring into our lives. So let's say, for instance, my client says, or you say, I like more abundance in my life. Okay, so what does that look like? Okay, so is it 1,000 pounds, dollars, wherever you're listening from? Okay, feel into the vibration of that. Nothing. So we keep pushing. So we keep pushing. Maybe it's in increments of 500 or 1,000. So 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. And we keep going until we hit the ceiling. And then there starts to feel like and you will know where that line of comfort and discomfort is. So let's say for argument's sake, it's 5,000. And you start to feel, he said, oh, okay, that's enough. That's enough. It's an invitation to breathe into that. And you might even say to yourself, okay, that's enough. That's as far as I want to go. Brilliant. That's the mind's ceiling. There's an invitation to go beyond that. So keep breathing and keep pushing. What normally happens is there is a soft spot energetically where it feels like nothing much is happening. And then you get to maybe a larger number where there's a burst of energy. So you might say, okay, 6,000, 7,000. So we had the ceiling of enoughness at say 5,000 for argument's sake. And then you keep pushing 6,000, 7,000, 10,000, 15,000, and maybe you get to 20,000 and something ignites within you. Then you know that is the big goal. And so we have the just enough goal, which felt like too big. And then we have the soul aligned goal, which is the big dream, the big goal. So what happens is we in our minds start to ask ourselves, well, how will I get this 5,000, say for argument's sake? How will I do that? And then it starts to kick in all of the threat responses, which says, well, I don't know how. I don't know how. And it's scary to think about how. So I'm going to stop here because I don't know how this will happen. But there's a more aligned number. There's a more aligned dream past what your reality is. And so, say, for instance, it's a book. I want to write a book. Okay, great. So, what is the feeling of writing a book? Okay, it feels like excitement. It's in my belly. Brilliant. Okay, so is it one book or is it two? Is it two books or is it three? Is it three books or is it four? And you might feel the energy begin to shift and change. And maybe you get to the number six and you realize, oh, that feels alive in me. Maybe it's 6 books. So I'm inviting you to feel into what is the goal? What is your dream? What's the dream that you're here to activate within you? And are you shortening that? Are you are you cutting that? Are you limiting that dream? Containing that dream because you're stuck in the how will that happen? Is there an invitation? There's an invitation here to push past the discomfort, to push past the how, and to go big, and to go big. Because why not? Right? Why not? This is the time to go big. This is the time to dream big. This is the time to be big. This is the time to be your fullest self. And I'd invite you to, don't shrink your dream to match your current reality. Stretch your reality to match your biggest and most expansive dream. Stretch your reality, stretch the boundaries of what you believe you are capable of what you believe that you can have, be, do. Stretch your reality. Think of it in ways that you've never thought of before. What is your most expansive dream? So can you visualize that? Maybe you can journal it. Maybe you can sing it, dance it out, whatever feels good to you. Surround yourself with people who are accomplishing those things, who are doing those things, who are having those experiences that you want to have more of in your life. Do what feels good for you again and again. Follow the joy, follow the energy. Joy and energy and success all leave clues. So can you follow that in yourself? Whenever you felt your most joyful, most expansive, most successful, all at the same time, right? Joyful, expansive, successful, all at the same time. What were you doing? Can you maybe follow those breadcrumbs as well? And then maybe you can ask yourself some of these questions. So, what does my soul truly long for? What does my soul truly long for? What is the emotion of that? What does it truly long for? Is it connection? Is it adventure? Is it creativity? Is it love? What does my soul truly long for? And then listen and feel into the answer. If I gave myself full permission to go big, to dream big, what would I create? What could I create? Open up the scope and the realm of possibility within you. If I gave myself full permission to go big, to dream big, what would I create? And lastly, what would my 80-year-old completely fulfilled self thank me for starting today? What would my 80-year-old completely fulfilled self thank me for starting today? I love that question because the 80-year-old me wants me to experience a lot, especially joy. So I'm beginning to create space for that. And that means having different boundaries and different practices and different things that I do, but that's okay. This is what I'm meant to be doing. So what would your 80-year-old self thank you for? Completely fulfilled 80-year-old self. What would she thank you for? And can you begin taking those steps today to create that, to have that, to be that? I am looking forward to hearing all about what your big dreams are, your big, big dreams. And maybe this episode will give you permission to actually go bigger than you originally thought you could. Because I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in your big dream. I believe in who you're here to become, what you're here to create. what you're here to experience. I'm here for all of it. And so I want to thank you for joining me on this latest episode of Beyond the Nudge. I hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take that bold next step into your year of significance, your big dream. Remember, this is just the beginning. We have so much more to explore together. Be sure to tune into the next episode where we'll dive into the metaphysics of possibility. It's one you won't want to miss. Before we wrap up, I'd love to share two causes close to my heart. I proudly support Women for Women International, an incredible organization empowering women in war-torn countries to rebuild their lives, and Mantle of Hope in northern Uganda, a charity offering hope and support to the victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence. If you're moved to make a difference, I encourage you to learn more about their transformative work and consider joining me in supporting them. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please share this episode with someone who could use a little nudge of her own. Because remember, your best you is waiting beyond the nudge. Until next time.